back to the news that's currently dominating the National Football League, and I'd love to know how John Madden would have handled these situations as the NFL tries to continue to get its arms around and keep its arms around the pandemic. More changes to the COVID protocols. And, folks can be cynical about how and why some of these other changes were made, but once we accept the fact that the league and the union are committed to getting all games played, when the CDC gives the game of football the gift that was given on Monday, reducing that 10-day quarantine isolation period down to 5 days, the NFL pounced on it. The NFLPA pounced on it. 10 down to 5. And what that does, it's going to get guys back faster. It's not going to limit the number of guys who are positive, but it's going to get them back faster. There's one key, though, to keep in mind. And it's funny, I've seen a lot of cynicism expressed about this now. I don't know where all those people were when they changed the protocols a week and a half ago to make it so driven by whether or not someone has symptoms, because everybody's like, oh, well, they have to be asymptomatic, so after 5 days, they're all going to say they're asymptomatic. Well, yeah, that's part of the problem with the new testing protocol. They're only testing the people who are symptomatic, and plenty of guys are putting their hand in the air and saying they have symptoms. Now, on the back end, will they try to conceal any lingering symptoms they have? How thorough will the medical examination be? I don't know. But for the same reason that people are saying guys are going to say they don't have symptoms after 5 days, they're covering up their symptoms now. That's why I think that it's just the tip of the iceberg, Chris. For all these players that are out there who are positive, I think a lot more guys have it, and they either are asymptomatic or they've successfully concealed their symptoms.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't. Again, I think, we've talked about this before. You know this, I know this. Most NFL players are really good people and aren't going to, try to jeopardize the public for the most part. Yes, there's some selfishness in every football player. It's.
I don't even think you think of it that way,
no,
though.
It's not.
I don't think you're going through that dilemma of, am I putting someone at risk? Because, as you've said, plenty of these guys don't even think it's a big deal.
No, I don't think they think it's a big deal COVID-wise, but I think I've talked enough to people to know that, there's still a thought of, wait, I don't want to endanger others. I do think that's still kind of prevalent, but I don't think there's fear from them within themselves. And yes, Mike, to your point, you're gonna have a handful of guys, in every locker room that, are gonna, I got the sniffles. So what? Well, the sniffles or a headache could mean you got COVID right now. That's the simple fact of the matter. But some of those guys just go, I don't feel bad enough to even care or tell anybody, so I'm not going to say anything. Yeah, I certainly think that will go on, no doubt. It seems like, I don't know where this is going, but it seems like, again, we're going to lessen some of these protocols, and they're going to go back to, let's do some of the other protocols within the facility to limit spread or contagiousness that way. And maybe this is the way to go as we go forward. I'm happy to see it. I'm glad the CDC did it. And, just from the pure competitive standpoint of the NFL and watching good games, yes, again, here we are getting close to playoff time. I want to see some of these playoff teams at full strength and make sure the best 7 make it, and not, have some team that got a lucky COVID, run down the stretch to somehow get in the playoffs.
And if we're going to be cynical about whether or not players will hide their symptoms after they've gotten a positive so they can come back after 5 days, and if that cynicism spreads back to, keeping your symptoms quiet in the first place, there's another type of cynicism that's at play here, and I've heard from a couple of people about this.
Yeah.
There's a thought that the NFL and the union just wants it to wash through all the facilities now.
Right.
And have it over with now. And go ahead and let everyone get exposed and infected now. Symptomatic or not, let's get it over with now so when the playoffs roll around, it won't be an issue. And there is kind of a weird herd immunity that's going to happen. Not that herd immunity is ever going to be permanent, because the thing's going to continue to have variants and they're going to have to deal with it in the coming years. And I hate to say that, but I think it is going to be years, not months.
Definitely.
But to have everyone get into that 90-day window where, just like Aaron Rodgers has been since early November, not tested every day, not subject to close contact, absences for 5 days if he's exposed since he's unvaccinated. If guys have either had it and they've, not not been symptomatic and now they've got the antibodies so they won't test positive, for some reason they're flagged later, or if guys have been positive and they're in that 90-day window where they aren't tested, you get to the point where, for example, the next guy we're going to talk about, Carson Wentz. The good news for the Colts, once Carson Wentz is back,
he's
thanks
back.
to the protocol, he
Right.
could be back for Sunday's game against the Raiders.
Right.
Once he's back, he's back. You never have to worry about him again the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's a great advantage. You're right. There's something to that. I'm sure there are, some coaches and some owners who are kind of hoping that happens and on their football team without, of course, anybody getting really sick or, in danger that way. But, yeah, that's a great advantage for a team like, the Packers or the Colts to know if they do get in the playoffs, the Colts especially, there's no worry. You're gonna have your main quarterback out there to help you win those football games. And Mike, I was going to ask you, so 5 days, he tests positive yesterday morning, he'll still, it'll be good to go Sunday. He makes that cutoff, if
he's asymptomatic.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that's
or
what it all comes
asymptomatic.
down to. Right.
Yep. It's now vaccinated or not, and what it was for vaccinated players was that 10 days was the absolute limit, and you came back no matter what after 10 days. Now, I think if you were symptomatic, you didn't. But by 10 days, no one's still going to be symptomatic. Now it's 5 days. You're even if you don't otherwise qualify to return, because they changed the rules a couple of weeks ago so guys could come back sooner. Not a lot of guys have been back after 1 or 2 or 3 days. But 5 days, if you're vaccinated, you can be back. And even if unvaccinated, 5 days, you're back if you're asymptomatic. And again, look, guys can try to hide it. I don't know how much you can hide if you still have fever.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
You're
still going to be
coughing
a medical component. You got doctors in the building. If a guy has had symptoms, there's going to be some evidence that, anytime you have a cold, you can't hide your symptoms. If your nose is running, your nose is running. If you're sneezing, you're sneezing. If you're coughing, you're coughing. You hold it together for 5 seconds and say, I'm good, and then you start walking away and you're coughing and hacking everywhere. I mean, again, there's only so much that can be hidden if you have symptoms of COVID.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was having a little text conversation with a friend of mine in the NFL this weekend, and they were kind of referring to that a little bit as far as that. There's checks and balances to this new thing too. To your point, if a guy's walking around the facility and coughing and sneezing and nose is runny, somebody's going to see it and tells the medical staff, and the guy's going to end up getting tested. So that's what the conversation that I was having through text a little bit. Was saying that's why, hey, they're still going to be on the lookout for symptoms, and there's, nobody's just going to get a free run like, oh, you feel okay? No big deal. We've heard you cough 20 times and, blow your nose 20 times. Oh, you're okay. Okay, big deal. No, those guys are going to get called out, or somebody's going to say something to make sure they get tested and see where it goes from there. But
hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.